I'm here with Katie Nimon, who is the National Party candidate for Napier. Kia ora, Katie, and welcome.
Kia ora, Andrew. Thank you for having me.
All good. Katie, you recently resigned from your job at the Regional Council to concentrate fully on your campaign. How's it going?
It's going really well. I've got to say it is very busy. We had a Super Blues meeting this morning, which is a great chance to connect with some of our members, and I was saying it's just important for us to sustain this momentum until October, because it's busier than it probably was, not too far from the election last time.
Okay. Obviously, with the Cyclone Recovery in full swing, how do you differentiate between campaigning and helping?
That's a really good question, actually, Andrew, because it's very hard to. I don't consider it campaigning because, of course, you're just helping people and you do that anyway.
Yeah.
But it is hard because when you're out there doing that and helping people in Esk and Puketapu, Tutiara, Wairoa, the people in Piramai or Mariwa, they don't see you because you're elsewhere. So it's really hard. I think prioritising helping people after the cyclone is really important, and the word gets out. People know that you're out there helping, and I think that's really important. And look, campaigning's a little bit secondary, to be honest.
Do you think you've got the balance right? Because some would say even if you're helping, you're campaigning.
I think that's probably a perception issue, because for me, I'm not making it about that. People probably gave me a bit of a hard time for not politicising the cyclone and not making it a profile issue for me, but it's not what it's about. So I do what I feel comfortable with, and I feel comfortable helping people on the issues that I can. And look, I think the hardest part is that I'm not the MP. I'm working really hard to become the MP, and with that gives you a lot more ability to help people. And so I just do what I can do. We've got awesome support in the party that stepped up to be able to help people.
Because at the moment you're a candidate in a race without an opponent, thanks to Stuart Nash deciding not to restand and Labour not having a candidate. How does that feel? It must be a bit weird.
Yeah, it is a little bit weird, but it's quite nice. It's nice in the sense that there's no distraction. I can just get on with the job because, it might surprise people, but I just really like debating the policies and the issues and connecting with people. I'm not there to take anyone down. I'm not there to make it about personalities. And so it's refreshing to be able to have the chance to do that. I think it's really distracting for people. And so, whoever my opponent is, it doesn't change the situation for me. So I'm enjoying at the moment being able to go out there, connect people and not have anyone out there just trying to make it about personalities.
But you are eventually going to have that.
Yeah.
So how are you going to deal with that?
Oh, well, look, it's a normal part of campaigning, but I think that a really good candidate would be someone that would debate the issues and debate the policies, and I really look forward to that. And we have that, we have that across the board with candidates from other parties. I actually really enjoy campaigning with someone like James Crowe, who technically, knows the issues really well and stands up and debates those, and it's refreshing because it gives people a clear option. Who do they want to vote for? What policies matter to them? What positions are they there to support? And they have a really clear choice.
He was the Green candidate
last
time.
Was,
yeah. Now, obviously, as you mentioned, you're not the MP, so what can you actually do more than say I can do to help people in the recovery?
So I think, what I can do differently is get those connections within the National Party. And I think the point to make is that...
MPs and
yeah, absolutely. And look, they're really well connected across the board with the Cyclone Recovery. We've had a lot of MPs visit. We've had Chris Pink, we've got Andrew Bailey on Saturday, we've had Christopher Luxon 3 times. We've had visits from all manner of MPs really here to make sure that they're getting the message and making sure they take that back to Wellington. Matt Ducey was another one. He's our spokesperson for mental health because the issues are broad. And so Chris Pink particularly, he's going to be the spokesperson, or he is the spokesperson for the Cyclone Recovery. And as a result, we've set up a bit of a team that's able to help constituents so we can actually get something going for them. Because, unfortunately, this government is really set on and talking spin of the statistics, how much money they've put in, but actually who's being held. And we've got an event this weekend to connect with people that are really struggling to get that support because they maybe don't meet the criteria or they've slipped through the cracks. So I can make those connections, I can advocate for people, and to have the ability to be out there all the time, on the ground talking to people and making sure that those issues are heard. And we push it up the food chain, we poke the bear, whatever we've got to do to make sure that they get the help that they need.
So who are these people that are not meeting the criteria and slipping through the cracks?
Yeah, so look, a couple of examples. There's some growers out in Esk. There's some farm supply companies in Puketapu. There's a number of businesses in the urban area. And this is the hard thing. There's some businesses that have done really well out of that funding and hopefully can prop up their staff and teams and keep their businesses going. It isn't their fault that they've been successful in getting that funding and support. But the real challenge is when you've got people that have been turned down because they maybe have got support from MPI for clearing their driveways so that they could get into buildings, who then can't get the business support funding because they've tapped into $4,000 from MPI, and now they say goodbye to $40,000 from MB. And look, I think that's really unfair. And so look, we really need to highlight those issues for people so that they get the support that they deserve and that they need.
We'll come back to Cyclone, but I just want to look at the issue of Stuart Nash and mentioned him earlier, but what is your view of his sacking and his decision not to?
Look, I think that, I don't really have a view on it. It's not my place to have a view on it. All I feel, and I've said this before, is that it's just a really unwelcome distraction for the region. We should be talking about policy that's going to help people. We should be talking about the issues that face people, not personal problems that have occurred from, people's lack of discipline or whatever it might be.
So with the lack of discipline on this part?
Look, I think that's a pretty obvious thing to assume, but look, it's for me a real distraction for the region, and it's good that he's done what he's done so that we can move on and we can focus on the issues and get back to helping people, because this is an election like no other. I mean, it shouldn't be that the people that are really struggling become a political football. We should just be helping them regardless. It shouldn't be about statistics or spin or, a lolly scramble. It should be about genuinely making sure that everybody that's been disrupted, affected, impacted, come out of this, at the end with opportunities for, getting their life back on track and rebuilding businesses, properties and livelihoods.
Now, you've been out and about there speaking to people, and you've mentioned some of the issues and that with getting access to funding and that. What are some of the other issues you're in?
So I think one of the big ones that a lot of people are talking about is red zoning. That's a real confusion for people. And look, as simple as the red stickering of a house compared to the red zoning, a lot of people don't know the difference. They don't understand that that's something different. And that's no one's fault other than just a lack of communication. What does it mean if you've got a white sticker, a yellow sticker or a red sticker? And when are they going to hear about red zoning?
And red zoning is when a whole community is moved out.
And not necessarily. Red zoning is just when an area is no longer able to be built on. And look, I think that we learned a lot about that during the Christchurch Earthquake. Yeah. But unfortunately, this region didn't necessarily get pre-briefed on that. But I know that this government stood up and said that they don't want to have any longer than what Christchurch has had, and they set themselves a timeline of 4 weeks. And that's well and truly passed. Yeah. So, people are getting really restless. And in some cases, insurance, they're sitting, waiting, and they don't know what to do. And so in the meantime, people aren't getting the support they need to be able to, if they can start rebuilding. And if they can't, to be able to help them to move on.
Yeah, I put questions to Grant Robertson on that earlier this week, asking him, have they been completed, all the data being collected? And it is about 2 weeks later, and he says they've got most of it, but they're still waiting for some. So do you see this sort of dragging out and becoming 4 months like Christchurch?
Look, I really hope not. And that's just not fair on people. I mean, so many I'm talking to, they just want to know. There are a lot of people that want to rebuild where they are because that land is home. And you can't argue with that. I mean, beautiful areas. Puketapu, Eskdale, among many others, are some stunning pieces of land that people have made lives and generations of lives, on, and businesses as well. And I think it's really hard to be dangled like a carrot with that answer. I think also it's really hard on the local government who have done their piece. They've given their data, and unfortunately they're copping a bit of flack on that too, which is not really fair.
Yeah. Now, while many of the concerns are genuine, there have been a lot of conspiracy theories floating around. How have you managed to separate truth from sort of urban legend and that sort
Yeah, look, that's really tough. I've seen some of that firsthand, and I think that it's so unhelpful for people that are really in distress. And I think there are people out there that genuinely, believe some of that, and then there are people that think, hey, now's the time to make a mountain out of a molehill or create untruths and spread that. And it really it unsettles everybody. And look, I think the faster we can put it all to bed, the better, and focus on the real issues. It's just another distraction, and it sets people in the wrong direction, because we need our communities united. We need people listening and trusting and believing in the authorities that are working really hard to get things back on track. Yeah. And so, all of these, rumours or completely unfactual pieces of information that are getting around, usually on social media, it just sets us all back, because as soon as someone from an agency comes out and says, hey, we're here to help, and then there's some kind of rumour that's flying around that disrupts the ability to take that on board, we just go backwards.
So on crime, how much of that has been rumours and urban legends?
Look, I honestly think that more than anything is mostly fact. I can't speak to every issue that's come up, because of course, that's not been reported to me. I hear what I hear, but in terms of the looting and the activity that's been going on in some of the areas that are vacated because of the cyclone and the flooding, it's absolutely true. Yeah. Because who's going to report that? Because those people, in the weeks following the cyclone, had no power. They had no internet. They had no way to report it. Whether it was 111 or 105. One of the people I was talking to out in Eastdale, he made the joke that he'd have to drive into town to be able to call 111. And so, at that point, it's way too late. So, look, I do think that unrest and that, opportunistic behaviour that's really troublesome is absolutely true. And I know firsthand, there is someone I know well that's had a torch shone in her daughter's bedroom multiple times from people out in that area looking for an opportunity for, a chance to take things from people's homes where they may not be there. And to their surprise, there's someone there. That's just not good enough. So look, this community doesn't need to be gaslit. Yeah. These people need to feel safe. And for someone in Pakawhai who's not at their home, who wants to be in their home, for their cars to be broken into, almost weekly, it's just adding insult to injury. And to then be told that, no, actually, that's not true and everything's all rosy is just unfair.
No, because your party has indicated there needs to be a tougher approach on crime. And generally, is there a problem with crime in Napier if you take out the cyclone-affected areas?
Yeah, 100%. Look, I think the hardest part of this whole cyclone is the fact that there is still a whole lot of stuff going on, but they're not getting the attention and support because we're really having to, allocate our resources elsewhere.
What's a whole lot of stuff going on?
Look at ram raids. Before the cyclone hit, I've been working hard to help businesses that have been impacted by ram raids. And, yes, there's some support out there for them from the police, the grant to get smoke machines and, absolutely, smoke machines, bollards, all that. So they get the approval, they get allocated the funding, and then they can't get the bollards because the council won't let them put bollards in front of their building for, town beautification rules or, various planning and consenting issues. So, these are issues that are genuinely still facing us. There are still ram raids every 10 hours in New Zealand, and our gang numbers are up 65%. And the national average is 55%. So we're above average and for all the wrong reasons in Hawke's Bay. And, it is just an absolute tragedy that we have let it go this way. And I think, unfortunately, the cyclone was just the cherry on top for a lot of people with an already major issue. And look, I think if anyone was at that Eastdale meeting, the first one or even the second one, or watched it online, people have come from other parts of the region to come to those meetings to say, hey, this is not a new issue. It's just that your area is now seeing the issues that we have always had. In places like Miriwa and places like Onekawa, those community members came all the way out to Crab Farm to say, hey, we've been experiencing this and it is a problem and it has always been a problem for us and it is just getting worse.
Is this about gangs?
Yeah, look, gangs, break-ins, car break-ins, car theft, ram raiding, you name it. And it is a real problem that has not been addressed because we've got a soft on crime government.
So how do you address the gang issue?
Look, I think the gang issues, we've got a really good policy on that, and it's really easily addressed by empowering the police to really do something about it, because at the moment they're doing their job with their hands tied behind their backs. So if we can make sure that patches aren't welcome in public, it gives the police something to stand by and to actually go in and break these groups up, set them apart, send them home. Because they're doing public intimidation to gain all sorts of things, and it's just not fair. And the same thing with being able to actually attack the firearms, because we know that what we've done with the firearms to make sure that we're taking that off everybody. We have just taken it off the people that are good and willing to give up their firearms, and that's just really unfair. So. Look, I think ultimately we need to be hard on gangs. We need to not be having conversations with them and really negotiating with them. We need to be hard on them. And look, at the people that are doing ram raids, I know one business that, they suffered $50,000 worth of damage to their front door, a couple of days out of business, stock taken, and the people that did the ram raid got $400 fines. And they are 12, 13, 14, 15-year-olds. So look, our policy on youth military academies is also another thing that's going to go really well to make sure that we are, making sure that they've not got a path into further crime, that they have got a path out of it, and harder consequences that make sure that they're rehabilitated earlier in life, and that we're not just pushing the problem further down the road.
And just briefly, what are the other issues you're focusing on?
Across the board, all our policies, look, education.
What you are focusing on.
In the region, absolutely. So look, my issues are nationals issues, but in terms of what Hawke's Bay is facing, top of the list has got to be crime, infrastructure, health and education services, and of course the cost of living, and then all of the reform that we have faced as a region. Look at EIT being made into Te Pūkenga. We are losing some incredible talent at EIT because they have got no creative license. They've got no ability to think like a region anymore. And look, our healthcare system is the same with Te Whatu Ora and the DHB, or what was the DHB, and with our water reform. To centralise everything all at once is to just completely take the lifeblood out of the region and regionally led services that are for the betterment of the people in that community.
Now, you and Catherine Wedd, your counterpart in Tukituk, standing for National, called for the government inquiry into Slash to be widened from Tairāwhiti to include Hawke's Bay. However, the Regional Council released a report recently saying that while a lot of pine was washed down, it wasn't Slash. Do you change your opinion about that inquiry?
So look, no, I don't think we change our opinion on the inquiry, and just to be really clear, that inquiry was broader than just Slash. It was about land use as well, and actually for really good exposure for the good practices of the forestry industry as well, because it's not saying, hey, we want to prove that this is Slash. It's saying we want to show everybody what this is, where it's come from, and why. Because those are the answers we need. It's not to blame anybody in particular, it's so that we can improve practices going forward. And we know that Gisborne Tairāwhiti is very different to the rest of Hawke's Bay. I have seen firsthand the Slash washed up all along the beaches between here and Wairoa, and it's horrific. It is immense. And look, that area particularly, I know Wairoa was included in the inquiry, but not Tutira, and certainly not Napier, and certainly not Hastings. And so, look, we know that there is all sorts of woody debris. That's not the case. We want to make sure that the land use and the practices are being inquired into, because you've seen it, we've all seen it. There is a lot of devastation from woody debris. It's not blaming Slash, it's just making sure that whatever has happened, we know that if we do it differently, that it's not going to happen again.
Now, you stood for the Napier seat in 2020 and ended up losing by a fairly large margin of 4,500.
If you call it fairly large, the grand scheme.
Even without knowing who the Labour candidate is, why do you think you can win this time?
It's an interesting question. If you look back at the last 7 years of party vote responses in Napier particularly, 5 of those last 7 years, National won the party vote in Napier. So it's not as red a seat as people think. And look, just because we've
It's about
had...
the candidate.
Yeah, look, absolutely. And I think that it's just about the fact that we have someone that is known, to be supportive in helping the area, and someone that people can rely on. And look, I came in late last time. I was selected in May. Didn't give me a huge run towards the election. We had all sorts of things in the way, like COVID. And so, look, last time we really laid the foundation, and I really appreciated that chance to connect with people. And I continue to do that since last election, all up until this election. So it's never stopped for me. But we've got a great precedent set by Chris Tremaine, who held that seat for 3 terms. And so, the time is now for Napier to have someone new here to represent them. There's no question they're going to have a new MP. That's just the way it is now. And my confidence is that I have been here since 2020, making sure that this electorate is well represented and has a really good alternative. And actually, even more than that, I've been in this community, working really hard in the service industry for nearly my whole life. And I think that that's pretty apparent.
And name recognition helps.
Yeah, sure. Look, I think it does. But, I got married last December. I could have changed my name, but I chose to keep, running as Katie Nimon. And I think that does help people, just recognise that I'm the same person that I was in 2020, helping them and, working really hard to make sure that their issues are heard loud and clear.
Yeah. So what mistakes did you make last time, and what you learned to take into this campaign?
Look, I don't think I made any mistakes. I just think that we had a really short time frame. It's going from 0 to hero in about 5 months, and that's not easy to do. So I think what we've done is just build the foundation to work from. And look, it's different. It's so different this time. Last time I was having to go and make it really clear who I was and what I was about and what I was going to do for the region. And this time people want to hear about more detail because they already know the answer to that. I was at the service station yesterday and had 3 people knock on my window to talk policy. So it's a completely different game, and it's a great time to be out there really talking to the community about what the issues are.
Obviously, it takes a lot to run a campaign. Where's your money coming from, and who are your donors?
Do you know what? That's a great question, because it's a really hard time to get funding while we've really struggled as a region with the cyclone impact. So we do rely a lot on members of the party who are just absolute down and out complete supporters that just love the party and want to support. And a lot of it is just events and fundraising and rallying the troops. And then we've got people that have supported me and that's just been the way they have been for a long time, and they want to get in behind, whether it's farmers, businesses, people that have, been in the region for a long time, here and there. So we're doing what we can, but we've got a long way to go.
So who are these people?
Well, it's a privacy issue. I can't disclose that.
Okay, we'll let you off that one. Christopher Luxon spoke this week of the region turning blue. And you've mentioned about Chris Tremaine, and
yep.
I think it was 2006 when he and Craig Foss
yes.
Came in. So, but you two are fairly inexperienced. Why do you think this will happen?
Look, I think that experience is perception, right? Like, I'm really experienced in transport, I'm experienced in tourism, I'm experienced in business and community service and education, not obviously as a teacher myself, but working in school transport and working with schools and teachers. Catherine's got huge experience in broadcasting, media. She's also got experience in horticulture and farming and in business herself. And so, I think that goes a really long way. And ultimately what people want is genuine support and people that will listen and people that will advocate. And I really don't think that people want someone that's maybe been in sort of parliamentary, the political industry, I suppose you could say, the political industry, their whole lives, because you might call that political experience, but that's not real world experience that's genuinely going to help this region. And from the conversations that we've had out and about, they love to see the two of us working together, and we genuinely have something different to offer people, and we complement each other really well.
If you're not elected, what will you do?
That's a good question. I haven't thought about it. I have no idea, because I'm not planning on not winning. But, I've got to put everything into this election and making sure that I'm connecting with as many people as I possibly can. Come October 14th, if it doesn't go away, we'll think about it then.
So do you think you'll keep going until you get elected?
Look, I think we'll address that when we get to the 14th of October, but at this stage, I think that Napier really needs a national MP. That just so happens to be me, and I'm going to be working really, really hard to make sure that we not only have party vote national in Napier, because we need a national government, but also me to be able to represent the issues of the people of Napier. And can I say, the people of Napier being from Taradale, Miani, all the way up to Muriwai, Matawai, Ngātapa and Gisborne, because that is the whole electorate, takes in Wairoa, and all the way up to the ranges. It is a really large area and really hard to get to at the moment. It typically take me 3 hours to drive from one side to the other, and now it's a 9-hour drive and some to be able to get to the top of the electorate, which is really challenging.
Now, the life of an MP has a lot of pressure. You're in Wellington quite a bit. How will you handle that?
I think just good balance and a good team is really important.
You also, as you said, just got married and that.
Yeah. I have a very supportive husband, but for me it's just making sure that you've got a really good team of people around you, that everyone's got the best interests of the region, and that you know how to have a bit of balance. But it's a hard job. You don't go into it if you don't expect that. And I think that if you're sitting back and kind of got a lot of breathing room, you're probably not doing enough. So I think you go into it knowing exactly what it's going to be like. I'm sure it'll always surprise people, but having a really good team of people that can provide that support, and that's just about having the right people in the constituency office too. Genuinely someone there that can help with constituency concerns, not someone that's helping me necessarily, but someone that's helping the people.
And in one sentence, why should people vote for you?
I think I'm the candidate that listens, and it's a really clear difference. I'm never going to tell anyone in Napier that their way is not the right way, because I'm there to represent them, and that is what I will be taking to Wellington, is their concerns.
Katie Nimon, thank you for your time today, and all the best in the election.
Thank you, Andrew. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you.